Hi everyone, it's Em and Liv, and we're your Meta PsycKicks. So today, Em is Sadness Everdeen, so we need to make her feel better. But what best way to make Em feel better than talking about demonic activity? Am I right?
Wow.
Am I right?
I'm not Sadness Everdeen, I'm Overwhelmed Everdeen. There's a difference.
Okay.
We have so many things to do for Patreon and it's happening in 2 weeks.
Sadness Everdeen.
Okay.
I walk into the house and I just feel like my chest is about to explode and I'm like, ooh.
Oof.
Em's feeling it today because I can feel it.
That's why yesterday when you were like, what aura am I shooting out of my hand? I was hearing the house.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about spoopy stories. Em's going to make me scared and then she'll feel better because I'm scared.
Oh.
It's usually how it goes. I was editing our other podcast last night as
You
per
were
usual.
scared because it was an aura video.
Well, no.
Okay.
Are you trying to say something?
Are you trying to say something?
Well, yeah, but you're making fun of me.
Guys, she did the listener stories podcast. She edited it and basically came back to me the next day and was like, I was so scared listening to myself talk about scary stories.
Okay, but can we also talk about the fact that if you listen to our listeners episode podcast, we're talking about little tiny possessed gnome figures, like the 7 dwarves, and we're like, Em asks me, what do you think is causing it? And literally I caught on the podcast a spirit going, me.
Yeah, and you can hear it really well if you have noise-canceling headphones because it happens more than once, my dude.
So there's like 2 spirits that we caught on one of the podcasts, and it's absolutely horrifying. And she's like, why are you scared? You're such a baby. I don't know, because we were editing a podcast, and it literally spoke through the microphone, and we didn't hear it until I was editing the podcast.
But also, don't you just hear those things anyways?
No, I'm not clairaudient like that. You are.
Oh, okay.
You didn't hear it when we were recording the podcast either.
Well, no, I was talking.
Yeah, but you didn't hear it. And then
Yeah.
there's another one that talks too, and it sounds completely different, and it's absolutely horrifying.
I think it was really cool.
Oh my God.
It was really cool that we caught it on recording or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool, really cool. I want more things like that to happen.
I would not.
I really want to go to, do ghost hunting. I found a ghost hunting team that agreed to take me and Liv. They are just trying to figure out where they need to go next. But, I'm really excited.
God. I mean, as long as we don't go into a house like the demonic thing that we went into when I was looking for houses. If it's not that scary, then I'll be fine. But if it's... Human souls are okay, but when demon faces are flying at me, that is not okay. That is where I take off the hat and I sit
We
in the
haven't
corner.
even talked about that yet.
But we're going to.
Okay.
So if you guys have been missing out or are new to the podcast, hi, my name's Liv. Em, say hi.
What's up? We've introduced ourselves.
I
What?
was going to talk about the aura. When I was editing the aura podcast, I told you that I loved you, and you said cringe.
You're a towel.
Because people need to understand our dynamic. I am the flower child. Okay, I'm Liv. I'm a psychic medium. This is Em. She's learning that she's a psychic medium. We are twin flames, best friends, and the opposites. I am a flower child, and Em is the fucking flower child of darkness.
I am the evil queen that enters rooms with lightning, thunder noises.
Oh, we were talking about how if I was a princess or a queen,
She
what
straight
I
up,
would be like.
out of nowhere, was like, I would be a good queen. And I'd be like, fuck no, I would want to be fucking evil.
So just to give you perspective of our dynamic, I talked about how if I were a queen, I would wear pretty dresses and ride around on a golden pony named Mr. Flufferdoodle and start an orphanage for children and do biodegradable freaking farming and ecology, whatever, and have a school for everyone to go to. And it would be the most awesome, beautiful, happy time kingdom ever. And then Em looks at me and says,
Well, I would want to be a fucking evil witch. I would want to be covered in all black, and I'd want people to carry me from place to place. And when I enter rooms, I want them to force lightning to happen, and I want to ride around on a fucking skeleton horse.
tell them about the corgis.
Just for the sole fact of I can. And I want all of my little corgi minions to go out and bite people's ankles and be evil.
So that's Em. I'm Liv. Nice to meet you. And we're going to talk about our spooky story times for Halloween because it's almost Halloween. And when I went house hunting as a medium, it was interesting.
Yeah, can you talk about the house with the little skittery thing and the man? Do that one first, and then do the demon house.
Okay, I forgot about that one. Honestly.
Yeah, she really likes century houses, you guys. So we went to a few, and they were all haunted.
When you're a psychic,
shocker.
When you're a psychic medium, you have
an old soul who has the desire to be in an old house.
Yeah, when I have things that are old, it's like my soul goes, oh, I remember these things. This was nice.
And then her medium hat's like, oh, God, what the hell is that? That wasn't in the pictures.
Yeah, so I like old century homes a lot because, I don't know, I just like walking into a house. Like, some people want a new house. And when I walk into a new house, I just feel like it's hollow. Like, there's
it depends on who makes it. Like, who made it modern, I guess.
Know, even if it's a new house.
I know it's a different feel.
Yeah, it just feels like hollow bones. Like, birds' bones are hollow. That's what new houses feel like to me. So when I'm looking for houses, I want something that feels like there's warm, happy energy. Kind of like a cushy ball, maybe? I don't know.
But Liv and I, in the future, want to live together.
In a Victorian mansion.
That
is so big that it is separated by one kitchen. Well, there's going to be two kitchens, but the main kitchen is where we go to eat pizza and ice cream.
Yeah. But it'll be so big that we won't even know we're living with each other.
Yeah. But it'll be great. Anyways.
But old houses.
So one of the houses that I wanted to look at, well, there's 3 old houses that I looked at. One of them was fucking gorgeous and awesome, and I loved it, and it wasn't like scary haunted at all. But
the one that I didn't like?
Yeah. Then there was one that Em didn't like, and I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
We are on our way there, and I immediately start feeling sick, and I'm like, oh, God, there's this angry man in this house. Why are you so excited?
Guys, it was really cool. Okay, at the end of the day, the angry man, like, for me, he had, like, if you guys wanted to listen to, like, our first podcast, and I think our, like, 7th podcast, we talk about the slave owner who was reincarnated as a dog. He had this kind of vibe. He just was angry and mean, and just, he was annoyed at the people that lived in his house, because the area of houses that I was looking at, a lot of people from, like, Latin America and Mexico live there. So he was upset of basically the race of people that lived in the house that he used to have. And I should have known better, because of the 2 century homes that we looked at that were on, like, they were on opposing streets, basically. One was literally the other street over. But this house that I looked at with Em was like a light green color, and it was the one that had the scary racist man in it, basically. So I should have known that a scary racist man lived there, because in old century homes, they have servants' quarters, basically. So where the people that lived to take care of the house lived. And they're like secret little doors and stairways that are strategically placed around the house so that the people that actually live there don't have to see the servants moving to and from the house. It's like they live there, but they're kept quiet, basically.
They're kept in a separate place.
Like out of sight, out of mind, even though they're in the same house. So I should have known that someone like that lived there just based off the fact that there's like little secret servant quarter doors. But the soul of the man that lives there is just upset because he's racist. He's like, I don't want people that are Mexican living in my house because I'm an old white man. And I'm like, get the fuck over yourself, sir. Whatever. So it just annoyed me. Well, and at that point, as a medium, I'm like, I acknowledge you, but also you're being a little bitch, so fuck off. But the thing that Em wants to talk about.
We go into the house, and you enter the house through the kitchen. And in the kitchen was like the grossest room, because it was attached to the basement. And in the basement, there was this little skittery thing that like hid in all of the people who lived there stuff and toys and things like that. And he, the racist man, was angry that these people brought in this little skittery thing as well. He like blames them for having this like dark thing in their house.
Well, it was weird though, because he was talking specifically about like the woman that he didn't like. And I didn't put a lot of thought into it, but he kept showing me the woman and the baby. And before we even walked into the house, I was like, I don't know who lives here, but he kept showing me a woman and a baby, and he was just like really annoyed by them. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So the people just had a lot of stuff in their house, like a lot of stuff. And it's
like objects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was a huge house and every room was filled to the brim with things. And then you go down into the basement and the basement was just things upon things upon things.
It's like storage of their other things.
Like just very, very, very cluttered. And this little dark thing was hiding in the cluttered of the basement. So not only is he upset because he's racist, but he's also upset because there's just lots of things in his house, which isn't really like boasting in their favor, kind of. I don't know. Is that mean to say?
What? He's just irritated by these people, so anything that he doesn't like is just gonna bother him even more.
Yeah. So
yeah, he's just an annoying man. But I felt very sick in that house.
Yeah, you felt the heaviness of it and like the bzzz of like the little skittery thing that was in the basement, and it's like, you can't see me. And I'm like, Eb, it'll be fine. Once the people move out, the guy won't like. It's not that he's mad at like random things that we don't have any control over. He's mad at like he just doesn't like who lives in his house because he's prejudiced.
But also I feel like he's gonna like have a tantrum over things that you're doing because he wants control over his house.
For sure. Over any little thing. If it's not something that he wants, he's gonna like he's just gonna throw a tantrum over it. But then he also doesn't like the skittery thing in the house. But I'm like, if we move into this house, all of the things are going to be gone, and the skittery thing will be gone with it because it won't have anything to hide in.
Yeah, you know? And I was like, Liv, you brought me onto this excursion for a reason, right? So that I could have my medium on while you're
fantasizing over opportunities.
Plastering yourself against the walls of these beautiful century homes. Like, so I can tell you there are skittery things in the house.
Yeah, so that was an interesting one.
So let's move on to the really scary one we went to.
Yeah, this one was the scariest, and I was so excited to see it because the first week we went to go look at houses, I was unable to see it. Like, I didn't put it on the list, and I should have because I should have just gotten it out of the way first and foremost. But it's this old century home, and it's like so old that if you want to do restorations to it, you have to get like approved by a board or whatever. So I'm like looking at these pictures online, and Em's like, quit looking at pictures of houses because all it does is show you how good the photographer is. It doesn't show you what the house is like at all. And I'm like, but look at it. It's so pretty. So we finally go to look at this house, and we were waiting for the real estate agent to get there because they didn't get there before we did. So we're like, okay, well, let's like go look around on the house because it was on 3 acres. And I thought that the house was going to be set back farther from the road. But like Em said, the pictures made it look like it was set off from the road. But actually the road was like 10 feet in front of the house. So there was like no front yard. And I was like so annoyed by it. But I'm like, whatever.
But the house was really cute because it had like wood burning stoves, 2 of them. Mm-hmm. It had one of those old hair dryer bubble things that go over your head from the 50s.
Yeah, in the upstairs bathroom, and like one of the clawfoot tubs and stuff like that. And old doors and French windows and high ceilings, and the staircase was really pretty, or at least it looked really pretty. It's like one of those old staircases that goes up and then wraps around a little bit to make like the hallway that the rooms come off of. It just looks so cool from the pictures. But when I got there, I felt sick. And I was like, man, I thought like when I looked at these, like I tried a little bit to put my medium hat on when I was looking at the pictures to just like ignore it. But also I'm still a human and I just want to like find a really cute house because I've been waiting really long to look for a house and like be at this point in my life. So I was just excited. So we're looking around the house waiting for the real estate agent to get there. And we go to the front of the house because I was like, ooh, I want to see the pretty windows because they have like the floor to ceiling windows of like old century homes. And I thought I saw a face in one of the windows upstairs. But when I looked again, it was just like I saw a white curtain, like the little like chiffon see-through curtains. And the face was white too. So trying to be a rational human being, I'm like, I was probably just seeing the curtain. It's no big deal. It's just the curtain. Don't blow it out of proportion. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's haunted, okay?
But what did the face look like?
It looked like a plaster mask. So, like, if someone were to put plaster over their face and make, like, a mask. but it had like a really small nose. Like my mom has a mask that she got made in Greece when she was younger, when she went to go visit my grandmother. And it's like a plaster casting. I mean, it's not of her face, but like an artist made it and it was supposed to like represent her, I guess. I don't know. But it was like that, like one of the plaster, maybe porcelain masks. You know what I'm talking about? Anyways, it just was like a weird white face. So I just pushed it off. I was like, nah, old houses aren't always haunted. It's no big deal.
But what was that?
I don't know. It's probably one of the faces that flew at mine when we opened the back door. So the real estate agent gets there and he's like, you don't want to look in this house. This is absolutely horrible. Because
it looked bad.
Everything was overgrown.
There were vines growing in the walls.
Well, that was the brick part of the house. So like vines that are growing on brick, you can just rip down. But I'm like, no, I want to see this. It looked really cool in the pictures. The curiosity is killing me. I can't help it. So we're waiting for my real estate agent to open the back door. And he's like jimmying with the lock because it just was like getting stuck. And that should have been my second clue, you know? Well, it's more like my third clue. It's really old. I saw a face. I told myself I didn't. And now he can't get the door open. So I'm like, clearly whatever's here probably doesn't want us to be here. But I wasn't thinking about that. I was being a human. And I just wanted to like be really nosy. He finally opens the door. He steps inside. I take 1 foot in. And as soon as I put that foot through the door, 5 to 7 white faces came flying at mine and simultaneously was screech, groan, whispering, "Get out!" And I was like, okay, never mind. I turned on my heel so hard and walked out. And I was like, never mind, I don't want to see it. And my real estate agents it was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. It's fine.
Yeah.
So
I was behind her, but the house just smelled disgusting.
It smelled like burning paint. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's the only way I can describe it. It's like, it was like almost like cat pee, but not. It was, you know, like how ammonia has that like burning smell in your nose.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to clean something out of it.
Clean what out of it?
The demons.
The demons with ammonia. Yeah, lemon-scented ammonia.
Table salt.
Table salt. Jesus.
Liv started watching Mob 100.
It's really funny. It's literally like every stereotype ever, and I love it. It's great.
For psychics.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, yeah, I've never had actual spinning faces come at me and screech, "Get out," in my face. And as soon as you walked in, it was dark. And like, it was the middle of the day, so the house should not have been that dark outside with curtains not hanging on the walls. And it should not smell like that either. It was horrible. And we got this feeling of like a portal in the center of the house. And
no, that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were in the parking or the driveway, and Liv's like, "Did you see those nasty things in the house?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" Because I didn't actually get into the house because Olivia flipped around and left immediately. So I open up my medium hat, and there's a literal portal in the middle of the house, but the portal is really strange, and my guides have a sense of humor when it comes to dark things because it's easier to deal with. So they showed me this portal, and they literally used something that I know, which is, if you guys have seen What If, that Marvel series on Disney Plus, it showed me the portal with the tentacle man coming out of the portal.
Just a casual tentacle man.
Just casually. So, yeah, my spirit guides were like, "This portal is fucking nuts." Like, literal chaos comes out of this portal. And one of the things that Liv was saying is she normally sees portals that are upright like a door, like how we would go through a door. But this portal was flat against the floor. So it was literally like coming through hell.
Yeah, it was not okay. And it's interesting because every time Em and I have seen portals, they are vertical, sideways, like vertical. And that's usually portals that we interpret as things that can pass through, like human spirits or other types of spiritual beings can pass through those portals, kind of like gateways, like in Harry Potter where they go through the like the wall at, I don't know, what is it
9
called?
3/4.
Yeah, how that's like a vertical portal for transportation. But this portal was like a fucking hell portal coming up through the bottom of the floor, like things crawl through it. And that makes so much sense.
Oh.
We did a house reading, and there are like little tiny things that come up through the ground.
Mm.
The same thing.
Yeah.
So now, did we just figure out that there's a difference between like hell portals and normal portals? And when we say hell portals, we're just using hell as in like the cultural identification of a bad place, because that's how we identify it. But
it would make sense because you have a side for spiritual things, which is your right side, and then you have a side for physical things, which is your left side. So it would make sense of an orientation of the portal
dictates what can come through it and what it's used for. What kind of spiritual energy
comes through, because dark things theoretically would be heavier things because they absorb all wavelengths, so they would be something at the bottom. Yeah. Well, so that would be why dark things are coming through it, because that is the orientation of the portal, so that is the energy that passes through it, because that's where it goes to.
And why people perceive hell as the underworld.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, if you guys think about it, if the earth is like, I don't know, like a yellow color or a green color or whatever, you have blackness, which people think hell is like in the center of the earth or down, essentially. The way like a rainbow stacks itself is the things that are the heaviest wavelength are at the bottom. So reds are at the bottoms, but that would also make sense that black is down there as well, because it absorbs all of the wavelengths. So it would be the heaviest or the densest wavelength.
Gross.
Yeah, and that's why heaven is associated with up, because
high frequency.
They're lighter. But yeah, that's cool.
Glad we could make that nonchalant discovery.
But yeah, we also want to talk about that house reading, because the house reading was pretty wild. This person lives in kind of like a haunted house, so to speak. And it's not necessarily the house itself. It's just the area, because like we said, there's like things crawling up from the ground. So it was really cool. You want to go into that? Go into the first thing that you saw, the woman.
Oh, yeah. So before we sat down for the house reading, I kind of put my little medium hat on like I do with every other reading and tried to pick up on what I could see before I met with our client. So I saw this woman who has long, scraggly, dark, gray, white hair, and she's wearing like an old-timey nightgown, obviously.
Obviously, what?
Sorry, guys, you should also know that I don't watch scary movies, so like I don't know why I would see things like this, you know? I mean, I see commercials for scary movies, but I don't watch scary movies because I'm a medium, and I don't like seeing things like that. It really just messes with me. I don't like violent things either. I'm very sensitive to like
emotions.
Yeah, emotions, violent things. I don't like it. It's not my thing. So this woman had the long, dark, scraggly gray hair and the old-timey, like, ruffly white nightgown, and she floats across the floor with, like, her feet not touching, but her toes are pointed down and her heels are pointed up, almost like she's, like, weirdly levitating.
Yeah, like she's hovering.
But the thing is her face is covered by her hair. So, like, she has her head down and her hair's draped over her face.
Like Ring vibes, but with white hair instead of black.
And she just, like, is very quiet. She's just like,
until she gets really close to you.
And once she gets close to you, she just stops for a few seconds and then
like
jars,
literally inches away from your face.
Yes, and then jars her head up and screams at you like a banshee.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
So it's really fun that we met a banshee. Are you guys jealous? You should be.
Ugh, I hate it. It's gross.
But I feel like she's like a human spirit, and I like see her human spirit as like this woman that had like dark brownish hair, but like really horrible things happened to her. So at night, this like residual energy kind of manifests itself into this scary banshee looking lady.
Yes, it's really weird, but it definitely is almost like residual, almost like, you know how Venus flytraps just sit there and don't do anything, but then as soon as a fly lands in them, then they slam shut because it's like an involuntary reaction? It's like that. of residual energy. So like when she runs into something.
So it's like a trap door.
Yeah. So I feel like it's not on purpose that she would scream in your face, but she does just like residually reside there. And then when something triggers it, like stopping in front of you, then she screams.
I think there's some sort of dark thing controlling it, though.
Yeah, it just feels very animatronic. Oh, this is really important, though, too, because when I do house readings, if you guys are interested in a house reading, because people live in houses, it's kind of like how physical mediums work. They are able to hold something or touch something that the person that you want to get in contact with used, and through that energy, they're able to, pick up on that person's soul. So every object is like that. If you put a certain amount of energy into something, it will hold on to it like a battery a little bit and become charged. Houses are similar to that. So when people live in multiple houses, they kind of get energy from existence itself and kind of create their own consciousness a little bit, if that makes any sense. So that's one of the reasons I don't like new houses, is because it's like nothing.
Because they don't have the energy passing through them as much as like an older house.
Yes.
So they have less energy, which would result in that hollow feeling.
Mm-hmm. So when I do house readings, it's not just to tell you whether or not things are there or validate your experiences if you want to share them with me. I can also tell you about your house itself. So Emily's house has had quite a few people live in it, or for a long time. It's been around longer. So it has like this male sort of presence to it, kind of like trees. Trees are neither male nor female, but they kind of have like their own.
They have a masculine or feminine energy based upon like masculine energy is more of a forward energy and female energy is more of a passive energy.
Yeah, so her house has more of a masculine energy when it presents or wants to talk to me, and the way it talks about itself, like things that it wants to have done, things that it doesn't like about itself or does like about itself. Just very.
And it talks to you like through the walls, like it shows you the walls in the room and what is like, it pinpoints things in the room that it is focusing on when it talks to you.
Yeah, it's very, very specific. So for the person that we were doing the house reading for, their house was very adamant in explaining to me that the things that are in the house are not associated with him, but with the land that the house sits on, the property itself, or the location in which the house resides. So he's like, it's not me. I promise it's not me. It's just the things that pass through me. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's better, because at least it's not connected to the house. It's just the area in which the house is.
Which I feel like is typical when you have a lot of activity. It's not necessarily the house unless something really awful happened in the house. It's usually the land that it sits on.
So I just thought that was cool. But
there are other entities in this house.
Yeah, and the way that it kind of described itself to Em and I was the place that the house sits is so that the land is so highly charged that there's like little tiny holes in the ground, and energy seeps up through those holes, like
geysers.
Like, yeah, I saw it more like
the best way I can explain it is that way, but it's not like crazy coming out. It's just like sputtery.
It looks like lava lamps of energy coming up through the ground. Yeah, like very slowly. But that's why all of these dark things go there, is because it can get energy from its surroundings. So it's just really, really weird. Because I know like in like ghost hunting shows and stuff, people will build their houses on like highly electromagnetic charged areas. It has something to do with like the rocks in the ground or whatever. But if you build your house on areas that are highly charged magnetically,
paranormal stuff will happen to you. It's not necessarily a ghost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that.
So they'll debunk it because you can tell where an electromagnetic frequency is coming from, and if it doesn't move, it's not a ghost. So
I feel like that's what our client's house is like, but also the house itself is just, it's in an area that a lot of people have lived at for a long time. So a lot of people have passed through it like a trading post, kind of. I don't know. It just was interesting. It's very dynamic. So another ghost in the house was upstairs in one of the bedrooms. And it was making me hear like the clanking of coat
hangers.
coat hangers, like
in
hangers,
the closet.
clothes hangers. And when you open the door, there's like this spirit entity thing that is very masculine but passive. And it kind of has a body but doesn't. I see like a trench coat that is hanging from hangers. And when you open the door, this dude's hanging by his shoulders of his trench coat with no eyes in his head. And he's like very grayish green, kind of like skin against skull. And he just swings and swirls and twirls violently on a coat hanger. And I'm just like, this is the most ridiculous shit I have ever seen.
And he's like in a trench coat and a hat.
Hanging from a coat hanger. And he just spins around violently on it. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? So that's interesting.
Do you feel like there's something like really dark there?
That's
that,
under
like,
the stairs.
puppets things around? Is that what it is?
I think it's under the house in the ground.
Okay, because when she was doing a reading, there's like a cubby hole under the stairs because the house is old, so that's like a common thing. There's like a Harry Potter room, and it doesn't want you to see it, but you can see its eyes when you look underneath the stairs. Is that the thing that puppets these weird energies around?
No, I think it's under the house.
Oh, there's another one?
Yeah. That's like the boss.
Okay, because that's what I'm seeing, that these like entities that you're talking about, they don't have a consciousness.
No. It's like
an image replaying itself over and over again.
the way I can explain it is like if you watch How to Train Your Dragon, I think it's like How to Train Your Dragon 2. Oh no, it's the first one where all of the dragons are stealing the people's cows or sheep or whatever to bring back to the boss dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the boss dragon is just manipulating all of these other little things or making them appear or like manifesting them in order to get energy from something else. But it can't actually move from where it is. So it's puppeting other things to get energy to itself.
Interesting. It's kind of like I watched a video about Conjuring House, and
God.
in the Conjuring House, there is a really powerful dark entity that lives in the basement because there's a portal there, and it basically sits on top of the portal and feeds off of the energy of the portal. So that makes it very powerful, but also it doesn't want to move from that location. But what it does is it essentially creates, like, within its own energy, a dream space, but it's like a nightmare within our own reality. So like a nightmare come true. So the things or entities that the people see in the house, like the crooked woman, this person like is a spirit, but the entity uses the idea of the spirit and what happened to the spirit, because us as humans are afraid of when people do horrible things to themselves. So it uses that idea of what this woman did to herself and makes her appear really scary and has her like crawling all over the floor or having her neck bent and showing it to children and anyone that will see it, just so that it can get more energy from these people that can see it. But it literally puppets things around so that it can get more energy because it wants to sit in the same spot.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same feeling that I'm getting for this house.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so all the things are like not really there. They're just passively there trying to get energy, which is interesting. Except for the boy. The boy is different.
It's kind of like an angler fish. Like, It has a little bait at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Oh, gosh.
But the boy is separate from everything, for sure.
Yeah.
He is not associated with the house like the other two are. And then there's also a man that walks up and down the stairs, and he's like a human spirit. And I think he just is like, I used to live here before the house was the house that it is now, so I just hang around.
But the little boy, it's like
fucking worst.
You just like hear running behind you.
A little 6-year-old
bare feet against like hardwood floor.
Bare feet.
And Liv was doing the reading with the client and wasn't really focused on that because she doesn't really want to see weird things.
And my guides were very much trying to make me, at the end of the reading, my client said, thank you, that's what I needed to hear. And my spirit guides were like, exactly, that's what she needs to hear. This is all she needs to hear. Get the fuck over it. And I'm like, okay.
But after the reading, I straight up look at Liv and was like, did you see the little boy? And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, there's this little boy that runs through the house. And I, like, looked at him, like, stopped him, looked at him, and was like, he looks a little bit off. Like, his proportions are just a little bit off. Like, his head's a little bit too big
Like
for
Dora
his body.
the Explorer.
So I'm like, you're not a boy, right? And he turns around, looks at me, and his eyes turn white. Like, his iris goes away, and then the whites of his eyes tear down his face to leave holes in his head.
You're welcome.
But once I told Liv this, he, like, clings to her leg.
It was really gross. I was not about it. I was like, can you not? And Emily's like, well, he's not going to mess with me because I just laugh at him.
I'm literally making fun of him because that is the weirdest shit I've ever seen in my life.
So it's gone.
But wait,
But
she walked up the stairs and, like, went into the bathroom to, like, pee, opens the door to, like, wash her hands, and it has now crawled up her back and is on her shoulder, and I could see his reflection in the mirror that Liv was looking in. And Liv, okay, the way we deal with dark things is we, like,
make
give
fun
them
of them.
funny names because it's demeaning to them. So they're like, I don't want to be here. You're making fun of me.
You're not scared of me.
Yeah.
Literally dark things just want you to be scared of them. That's it.
So that's what Liv was trying to do. And you were trying to name him Timmy, right?
Uh-huh. I was like, I'm going to call you little Timmy because you're a shit.
What did he say?
I've only watched it once, and it
The
was
movie?
not a thing for me. But I was like, I'm going to call you little Timmy because you're being a little shit. And he was like, actually, my name's Georgie. Oh, and like fucking made his voice sound like Pennywise. But it was like a little kid saying, my name is Georgie. But as he said Georgie, when it got to the IE part, it transcended into a deep man's voice.
Oh,
and
God,
did
I
the
hear it.
Laugh. Yeah, it was too
Ooh,
dynamic.
that's horrifying. I now understand, like, after that, you were like, I wish I could, like, make my voice sound the way that, like, I hear it in my head, but because that was horrifying.
It was horrifying. So,
But yeah, she was telling me, and I was like, she was asking me, well, you know how I name things? And I was like, oh, are you going to name him Pinocchio? Because he's a real boy.
yeah. So,
But he was really interesting. So she, like, stayed at my house for a few minutes after our reading to kind of, like, get her head in check so that she could get rid of this little weird thing.
yeah.
And once we stopped acknowledging it, it kind of crawled away.
It literally dropped off my body and melted into the floor.
Yeah. But the way I saw it, because my guides are hilarious and think everything is funny, is I saw it like the head that was attached to the weird animatronic spider legs from Toy Story. You're welcome.
So, house readings.
The house readings don't have to be scary if you guys are interested in a house reading.
Yeah, we're just doing spoopy stuff because it's October, guys. It's supposed to be Halloween.
Yeah.
Being a medium is not scary most of the time.
Yeah, we had to, like, really get the scary stories for you, and our guides are very, very, I don't know, providing, because
Literally, Em's like, everybody wants to know about your scary stories as a medium. And I'm like, being a medium is not scary. Like, I don't have any scary stories. So we're like trying to...
literally the last few weeks or so,
3 weeks, yeah.
we have just been getting scary stories. Or doing things to get scary stories.
Yeah, having things happen that are scary. So those are the scariest things that have happened in the past 3 weeks. And I've been a medium for 24
Since
years.
You were 8.
24 years. So it's not really scary, guys. Being a medium is just perceiving and talking to souls. And
It's literally just talking to people, but people who don't see, like, souls just think that they're malicious ghost or something. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, people aren't angry. Guys, we have a really good episode about when my mom went into a house and talked to a man in the mansion. I think it was like the scary man in the mansion. I forget what podcast episode it is, but that's really good. And it really puts into perspective of what it's like to be a medium and how people just automatically think that souls are mean and bad, like dark entities are mean. And it's not that they're mean. It's just like, well, they are, but it's never
It's just how people are. If people are like,
don't understand something, it's usually scary.
well, yeah. But like
To
you're
them.
you're literally talking to people, and there's gonna be people that are gonna have tantrums over things, and there's gonna be people that are like real nice or whatever. They're the same thing when they cross over.
The same
And
person, yeah.
it's because of like the traumas that they went through. So it's very much about understanding who that person is and why they're like throwing things around your house. Because I would say most human spirits have no reason to do that.
Yeah. And one of my like pet peeves that's really annoying me, and I hope everyone listens this far to hear this portion of it too, because yes, we are doing spooky stories, but it's also because it's Halloween, and Halloween is about being spooky, and everyone's like, you're a medium, you have to have super terrifying stories, and I'm like, oh god,
Yeah.
Em, how are we gonna do this?
This is literally the question we get all the time. What is
All
the
the time.
scariest experience that you've had? And we're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, so this is really just for you guys to give you a little bit of spooky stuff, but honestly, it's not that scary. Even you're probably laughing. You're like, what the fuck? You're literally telling us that a boy who was 6 had whites of his eyes drip out of his face, and it's
It
like,
was literally the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Because like that, like as a medium, I think I make up most of the stuff in my head. But like,
Em and I
there
saw
is
the
no
same
way.
thing.
There is no way that I would imagine someone's eyes tearing down their face. Like
Yeah.
literally the whites of their eyes just leaving their eyeballs.
But one of the pet peeves that I have as a medium is I hate the people that like to claim that they are psychic mediums and just make everything scary.
Yeah.
They're like, this soul is so angry. And it's
Or they like flaunt how they die because people are afraid of death. And it's like, that's not what it's about.
it's called fear mongering, and
Yes.
I will not have any of it. I hate it. I hate the people that are on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, and
Because they use it to
literally
get views.
They use fear mongering to get views, and that is not what it is about being a medium. And if you're saying things like that, it's not true. Stop saying that. Yes, things can be scary, but it's everything about being a medium is not scary. I don't have a whole bunch of spooky stories. Literally, I went looking for houses, and those are the weird things that happened to me. And are they kind of scary? Maybe, but like it's just the fact that I can perceive them that I guess is scary to people. So
And
they
it's
automatically
also-
think that it's scary, but it's not.
It's also like if you're using human spirits and how they died, it's kind of annoying that you're like flaunting how someone died, like their worst day.
Yeah, that's really just like rude, honestly.
Just to make people more afraid of dying.
or more afraid of ghosts, and you
Yeah.
shouldn't be afraid of ghosts.
Yeah, because I would say most houses have like at least an energy of the person that lived there before, if it's not a soul.
Okay, so
So-
with that, let's go into one of the houses that I looked at looking at houses too. It was this really cute little ranch, like straight out of the 70s. Straight out of the 70s. It
Yeah.
had blue ocean velvet carpet,
Like
basically.
shag carpet, like thick, thick wet 2Cs, my dude.
And the bathroom had pink, and baby blue and off cream white tile everywhere with the old sinks that are like mint green.
Yeah.
It was so cute. I loved it and I really liked it. But my fiance's like, we are not going to have time to fix this. We will not have time to update it.
There's
I'm like,
literally a hole in this window.
there was only one hole in the basement window and it was okay. We could fix it. But the reason I felt that way about the house is not only because it had been lived in for a long time and loved a lot, but because the soul of the old woman that used to live there, her name was, what did I say, Edna, and she was telling me about her husband named Richard and how, you know how like a little old lady will come up to you and like grab the crook of your elbow and just like lead you around places like a fairy? That's literally what she was doing to me. I was walking through her house looking at it, and like my real estate agent and Emily and Bradley are like doing their own thing, but I'm like listening to this old woman talk about her house and clear.
Oh, I saw her.
She was so cute.
Because both Liv and I were like, this house is great! Even though there's literally like holes, the wallpaper's falling down, the kitchen is so outdated.
Yeah,
You might like have a pencil just roll off of it.
The kitchen was very outdated. But she just was like, this was my home and I loved it so much. So she gave us that feeling of this is home and I loved it so much. And she's like, I used to cook dinner here. And downstairs in the basement, my husband used to have his friends over and they'd have card games and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, this is just so cute. Like I could make my life like she made her life here. And it was funny because as I was sitting there trying to like stand up for buying this house with my fiance, he was like, we don't have time to do all of these things. It's nice, but like we don't have time to update it. She was like, it's okay, honey. Because I remember when I was looking for houses and I was your age with my husband. And she's like, actually, we were a little bit younger than you because it was like.
Because it was easier to buy a house, my dude.
Yeah, in the 40s. And she's like, that's why we ended up building this house, because we couldn't like agree on buying a house. She's like, so it's okay. I understand. And I like left this house with this woman being like, thank you for looking at my house. And I was like, oh, you're so cute. Stop. That's usually what it's like being a medium, guys.
Yeah. It's talking to people.
Yeah, it was so cute. And people that use fear-mongering tactics to try and get more views and say that they're psychic mediums on the internet make me angry.
It's not the way to be, my dude. Fear-mongering just makes it a lot worse for everybody.
Yeah, and then you attract the energy that you don't want, which is the weird, skittery, dark things that are like, oh, I'm going to take this over because you guys are giving it all of this negative energy.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. So... did you guys like our spoopy stories?
But
Were they
also,
spoopy enough for you?
Since it's Halloween, our next podcast, we're going to be talking about famous haunted locations and kind of seeing what's actually there. So we're going to, like, I'm going to pick some and Liv's going to pick some, and we're going to speak what the story is.
And then say what we see.
Yeah.
Like our listener stories.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you subscribe to our podcast and our YouTube. You can also check out this and look at our beautiful faces on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, because we talk about it in YouTube as well. And on October 31st, guys, we're going to be doing a TikTok live to celebrate our new launch of Patreon. And Patreon is going to be super skookum, because no matter what tier you join, you get access to our Meta PsycKicks Pen Pals Discord server. So a lot of people come to us and say, how can I learn how to talk to my spirit guides? And how can I learn more about my psychic abilities? And how can I build my psychic abilities and fine tune them and yada, yada, yada? Well, we always say that instead of paying somebody that says, I can teach you how to do this and I can teach you how to do that, we think that you ultimately need just your spirit guides who are always there for you and somebody like Em and I to talk to. So we've created our Discord server in which people from all over the world who are spiritualists and metaphysical gurus like us, I don't think we're gurus, we're just girls in a basement that are mediums, but where you can share your paranormal and metaphysical and spiritual stories with other people. There's not going to be it's going to be a safe and inclusive environment in which people can talk about things like this, because at the end of the day, validation and critical thinking and just analyzing and sharing experiences is really what's going to help build your skills as a person, whatever those skills may be. So everybody has psychic abilities, and hopefully this Discord server will help bring light to what abilities you have and what abilities other people have, because most of the time you just don't want to talk about these things because people will say, oh, you're crazy. We don't discount mental illness, but we don't think that it's all mental illness. So join our Discord server. Talk to everybody like us. Get some best friends.
Join our Patreon to get on Discord.
Yeah.
My dude. Also, check us out live on the 31st.
Be there. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. We have an email. If you want to submit your spoopy stories like we just talked about, whether that's on auras or haunted locations you've been to or paranormal things that have happened to you or any of your abilities that you want to talk about, go to metapsyckics.com and hit the extras tab, and you can submit your story to be featured in a listener's episode.
You can also go to the show notes. It's down there, my dude.
It'll be great. So we hope you like this spoopy story. And until then, we are your Meta PsycKicks.
Boo! Are you scared?
Hit him with the shoulders. Wow.